Well, my quintuplet binge is over. As you can see, it's Christmas time. So it's time for the Rick and Morty annual Christmas special. I have to say this, I read an article that said that this season was big tease, and yeah, I kind of have to agree with it. I mean, we were basically told that the Rift was going to be the big issue that was going to attach every episode of the season. It lasts for 6 episodes. We were also told that Rick Prime would be hunted down. Obviously, it did not happen. We were also told that Jerry would finally be back in his home universe. That actually happened in episode 1. So let's get to the big news. And this year we have the biggest comeback story of all time. Cloverworks pulled off one of the best years they ever had. And one of its best series, Spy Family, is going to get a 2nd season. And a movie! All I gotta say, Cloverworks, don't screw it up like you did last year. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Rick and Morty, last episode. Yeah, I really don't see the series going another season beyond next one. Reason why, because it seems like the last main storyline you could possibly have is going to be answered next season. I do find it interesting they had a Die Hard episode, and we're going to end on a Star Wars reenactment episode. Even though we know Star Wars and Christmas don't exactly go well together. I have to say this, I did call it. In my last review for Rick and Morty, I said that this Rick is probably a robot. And it's confirmed this week. Rick is a robot. Or at least this version of him. The one that's 22% better to Morty. As we saw, the good Rick decided to go out and come out with great presents for the entire family, including giving Morty the present he always wanted, a real lightsaber. Rick did give Jerry the special edition of Miracle on 34th Street, where a miracle happens on every street in New York, except for 127th Street. They get no miracles. Now let's face it, when you were a kid and you saw Star Wars, you wanted a real lightsaber, didn't you? Well, we found out that if you drop a lightsaber perfectly vertical, it's going to blow up the planet. So, I mean, basically it's telling us that the Death Star was completely useless. What's the point of having a Death Star? It's a very expensive object, when all you really have to do is just take one of those lightsabers, point it directly down, and just watch as it goes to the planet's core and blows the planet up. The president comes over and tries to help Morty end the crisis. Keith David returns. Of course, it's upon Morty trying to stop the lightsaber in the first place that we find out about Rick being a robot. As we saw, the usual Rick is still hunting Rick Prime. They built a drill, but then Rick C-137 says, look, I can build up a lightsaber with AI. I can point it down, drop it, and we'll hunt the lightsaber down. Interestingly enough, the lightsaber actually had an attitude. And it decided to simply come back up and destroy Venice. I do like the fact that the president decides, I got a great idea, let's destroy the Saudis' reputation. I mean, after all, they just beat Argentina in the World Cup. By the way, congratulations Argentina, you just won the World Cup. After losing to Saudi Arabia. Of course, they eventually take the drill and fetch the lightsaber. And of course, they come surface. At this point, Morty's like, may the Force be with me! Of course, Keith David's president comes out and takes the lightsaber. And says, no, it's with me. America, transform and roll out. I don't know where Transformers reference comes out, but why not? Guess we're doing 80s references. Eventually, the president accidentally sends the lightsaber going vertical back to the Earth's core again. And the next scene, he basically blasted the White House off into space. I don't know how that works, considering that there's window panes and, the walls of the White House isn't perfectly sealed like it is in a spacecraft. In fact, it's heavier than a spacecraft. But then again, this is a cartoon, who cares, right? Of course, I guess I'd finally say, the family finally found out that Rick, the one they're dealing with, was a robot. And the first instinct is to kill the robot, along with the scene of the first Noel. Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing I think about when I hear the first Noel from carols. Yeah, I gotta destroy all robots. By the way, if I actually do a list of funniest kills for the season, yeah, Rick Robot will not appear. He's intensely trying to be killed. Morty goes on to the spaceship with Rick. C-137. Or at least we thought. No, they went with the robot. Of course, Rick C-137 doesn't care. And let's face it, Morty, at this point, is very fed up with Rick. The rift between them has never been greater. Interesting enough, the robotic Rick is trying to get himself killed. And will do whatever it takes to achieve his goal. I guess at this point, he knows he achieved his purpose. At this point, life is just pointless. Almost like a Me-Seeks, right? Interesting enough, they brought up the fact that the droids from the prequel series of Star Wars were, for all intents and purposes, kind of clumsily made in the White House battle scene. Now Robot Rick decides to take one for the entire team, well, basically himself, by taking 6 lightsabers right to the Admiral. And eventually they burned right through him and right to the floor. I think I should tell you the White House is in space, so yeah, there's nothing really below them. It is interesting the fact that he didn't bring up, there's no gravity in space. Basically the White House has its own artificial gravity. The floor of the White House breaks open and Rick C-137 decides to portal Robotic Rick, Morty, and the President to the garage. Of course, Keith David President demands Rick to build him a new White House, which Rick basically tells you, no. And then we had a nice, long, drawn-out death scene for Robotic Rick. And finally, we got the reveal. Rick has found all the possible locations for Rick Prime, and that's what Season 7's gonna be. And that, unfortunately, is where this season ended up being. Really, pretty much more of a big tease of all these plot lines that were going to be answered, and none of them ever did. Well, Rick and Morty is done for the year. So what else am I going to do, right? Think about all the things that have come to an end. Qatar World Cup, Mob Psycho 100, quintessential quintuplets. It's not like Megumin's going to get her own show next year. She's getting her own show next year. And if I can, I would love to do a review on that. I am looking forward to Megumin's show. Anyway, this is me checking out. Thank you for watching me these past 8 episodes. And I hope to see you again in 2023. Merry Christmas. Goodbye.